But how many more emails people are questioning now? Because they gave out the number. New York Times reported over 650,000 emails were gone through over a 7-year period of Bruce Allen's conduct to figure out whether the workplace environment was detrimental or something, whatever they were doing their investigation. So John Gruden was the first one that we learned about. Mm-hmm. And I said this yesterday. If John Gruden was that comfortable to send that email like that over a 7-year period to Bruce Allen, okay, however long it was, if he's that comfortable to send those, and then Bruce Allen said, how many other people are comfortable with Bruce enough to be saying, if Bruce Allen's giving out the vibes like, yeah, that's how this conversation should go, how many other people? And I think that was immediately what a lot of the journalists started peeking there, like, ooh, okay, so there's probably, this is the tip of the iceberg, there's probably gonna be more. I think I even heard a lot of people use that analogy, like this is the iceberg that is gonna open this whole thing up. So today it was Schefter sent an email to Bruce Allen during the lockout about a report he was going to put out and asked Mr. Editor, is how he cleverly coined Bruce Allen, if anything needed to be added, changed, or tweaked about a story he was about to put out there. Everybody automatically now starts assuming that Schefter has to be okaying every narrative that he is breaking. Every news, everything he says has to obviously be coming from some sort of narrative pushing agenda that's at the top that he has to correspond with now, because this is just one email about one situation. Who knows how many others there are, especially whenever you're Schefter, who has news breaking at all times. And we watch a special about him, he's plugged in all the time.
Nonstop. Right.
Okay. Could he have, and I don't want to play devil's advocate, Schefter stopped coming on our show, basically. So
long time ago.
Long time ago.
We're rap sheet guys. Anyway.
Yeah. So, and Schefter's probably a nice guy. He came on our show before, so I appreciate his time. Rap Sheet is the guy that comes on our show every time we ask, though. So I appreciate the hell out of Rap Sheet. Schefter could have been, the way it was worded, I guess, makes it sound as if he's only allowed to say what he's allowed to say, and this is the agenda you have to push. I guess that's kind of how it was written. But could he have been getting like his facts corrected or no? And he called him Mr. Editor because Bruce Allen was maybe a part of the entire process. And like, is there any way that could happen? Because I think immediately everybody, especially after the accumulation of information situation with Aaron Rodgers on draft day, there's been a lot of things called into question over old Shefty's information. So I think that's why it's such a big deal. But it is wild. I mean, people have been waiting for this name. It's Schefty and it's Gruden. Those are two mega names in the NFL world. Who else is going to be coming out of this?
Yeah, something I'm still not clear on with that, too, because I saw a lot of people who are journalists saying that it was whether or not Schefter sent him the entire story or just parts that he was quoting Bruce Allen, because they were basically saying, like, hey, if he sent this guy the entire story, like, you can't be doing that. Like, as a journalist, like, you wouldn't ever do that. You would send it to the parts he was specifically commenting on and saying, hey, does any of this stuff need to be tweaked? And I still don't know if it was just those pieces or the entire story.
I think the report was the entire story.
So, and I think that's what a lot of journalists were like, hey,
because you can change the entire narrative over the entire story as opposed to just the quotes.
Right.
Got it. So that's the big deal here.
I think so.
So everything he says, we got to take it as such. Hey, AJ, I wanted your take on this. We talked about it in the first hour. You know, Schefter has now been a part of the Bruce Allen workplace malfunction investigation run by the NFL. 650,000 emails were allegedly read over a 7-year period of Bruce Allen's on his work at Washington Football Team at NFL.com email. The first we heard about was obviously John Gruden's interactions with Bruce Allen that were very offensive and very loud and very comfortable conversations happening, which made us believe and everybody else believe there has to be more. If John Gruden's firing those emails off to Bruce Allen, and Bruce Allen seems like a guy who's reciprocal of those types of emails, there has to be more than the 650,000. Today, Adam Schefter name got brought up because he sent an email to Bruce Allen calling him Mr. Editor and asking him if anything should be added, changed, or tweaked during the lockout conversation with a report or a story he was going to do. In the first hour, I learned more about it live on air, that allegedly he sent the entire story to Bruce Allen asking if anything needed to be changed, and all the Big J journalists came out and said that if he would have sent quotes from Bruce Allen asking if he wanted to change or tweak his quotes as opposed to the full story, it wouldn't be time to call into question his journalistic integrity. But since he sent the entire story, called him Mr. Editor, and asked if anything needed to be changed, everybody on earth has assumed, oh, that's a narrative being painted by Bruce Allen that Adam Schefter is then relaying. And that's just one email. Who knows how many more there are in this whole thing. But Schefter's been caught in the crossfire here of this Bruce Allen email investigation. Your thoughts on this entire thing?
Well, my first question was, how many media members are doing this? Where they send, like you said, it's one thing to send like cut-ups or sections and say, hey, does this look okay to you? Does this look like what you said? Whatever. But to send the whole thing and then he's jokingly calling him Mr. Editor. I don't know. Is this common practice? I've seen some, like, was it Ravel who kind of stood up for him and said, like, not the best of looks, but I understand. And then other people are like, absolutely not. You can't do this. So where are we with all this?
I haven't dove into how every member of the journalistic community is speaking.
But it is given one side. Obviously, it looks very bad for Schefter. It shows like Schefter is putting out what the league, what the execs, what their side wants when you're talking about the lockout, and none of what the players and the players' union wants.
Isn't that interesting, too? Because I got oh, man, I don't even know how I should address this. So when the last CBA negotiation was happening, there was a guy on Get Up named Moz. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
And he was speaking, and it was obvious that he was getting information from the NFL about what was being offered and what was some potential sticking points in the negotiation. But it was obvious that he had a good connect in the NFL, whether it was the NFL themselves or somebody that maybe was privy to the information. And whenever he was on Get Up, he was projecting all the information from the NFL side, and everybody was immediately asking, why won't the players take this deal? This sounds like this is a good deal, right? So when situations like this happen with Schefter, especially around a lockout or something like that, all those things that have been said by media members, to your point, everything, it's like, who's saying what? Why are they saying it? Who benefits from what they're saying? And I think that happens in journalism a lot, I think. And that's why in the modern age, with how much we know now and how woke everybody is, and I got attacked for being woke yesterday, which I guess is a terrible thing, to be a little bit more, hey, what's going on? I guess that is something that's terrible. It's been used as that. I was murdered yesterday for this entire thing. But as we learn more and more about people, I think we should all naturally start questioning everybody's piece of information from everywhere on how or why it got to be where it is. You know what I mean?
You have done this, and I saw you earlier in the show talk about that, where like you have been like saying, hey, who does this benefit? Who put it out? Whose side are they telling? Yeah, that's in theory, that's a great thing to do, and we all should do that. But the vast majority of people will never do that. They're never going to be like, well, wait, what are the motives behind whoever wrote this, whoever put this out? No, that's just not going to happen.
Who is this particular insider friends with? And
Nobody does that.
Nobody does it. That's because the headline's just too easy, especially with Twitter, where it just says
there's too much out there. There's too much information coming at us every day that it's like, okay, you got to really pick and choose what you want to dig deep and figure out.
This won't affect Schefter, though, right?
No.
I don't think
so. I mean, he didn't address it today.
Yeah, people will forget about it eventually, but I tell you what, other journalists will not forget
Unless
about it.
there's more egregious stuff that comes out from it.
Yeah, because now we know Schefter's at least an correspondent.
There's more too with it. Didn't you see there's other emails a little bit showing like between, I don't know, Rosenhaus and them, like saying, giving scoops basically. Like, I know there's a thing where Rosenhaus had an email in there saying Navarro Bowman is open for a trade. And it was like he was giving scoop basically. He sent that to Bruce Allen. Bruce Allen told Schefter. Schefter reported it, like stuff like that, I guess.
So people, because I got somebody tweeting me that all hell is about to cometh or something like that with this email thing, and I assume it's because what you're saying. There's like some random person tweeted me, and I try to scroll through my Twitter during the commercial breaks just to see what is happening, how it's happening.
Who is hell is coming for who?
I think everybody. I think that in the NFL
everybody that interacted with Bruce Allen, basically.
Yeah, and it's 650,000. If John Gruden's emailing him, he's Monday Night Football. Schefter's emailing him, he's at ESPN. I wonder how many other people are potentially in there as well, and how often is this happening? And I think that's what the person that tweeted me, the hell is cometh or whatever, because there was more coming out. But the NFL is controlling what they want leaked, right?
Right.
They're getting a lot of pressure put on them, though, to put all 650,000 out.
There's no way
They're
they'll
not
do
going
it.
to do that.
No.
They won't. But they'll throw out some. They'll throw out some that tear some people down and kill some people, but then they'll leave out what they really don't want out there.
So it's a pick and choose situation right now. How much do we have to give to get people off of our ass?
And they don't have to give anything. They could just be like, hey, you guys want to, we understand the news cycle. You guys can come at us forever and keep telling us we need to release all of them. And if we just ignore it, eventually we'll go away and we'll have more games this Sunday and everyone will forget it.
And by the way, we'll also have the person that's being called into question from the information that we released announce that ESPN has won the rights to the Monday Night Wildcard game for the next 5 years.
Exactly.
What a fascinating series of events happening right now at a very high level.